Hey, good evening, race fans, and welcome back to another Inside Edition of the Voice of Victory Lane podcast with Kip Thompson. I hope everyone's had a great weekend. I know I sure did because we were involved with North Carolina Speed Weeks at the Fayetteville Motor Speedway inside the Carolina Bull Ring, and that is what we're going to be talking about tonight. But before we jump into tonight's show, we want to thank our part one sponsor of tonight's show, Barrier Fencing Supply out of Supply, North Carolina. They're a huge wholesaler for aluminum fencing and a big distributor. Also working on some phenomenal deals right now to bring vinyl fencing to the forefront. That is Barrier Fencing Supply out of Supply, North Carolina, proud sponsor of the Voice of Victory Lane podcast. Tonight's special guest, no stranger to some of our shows, no stranger to see me and this guy together on Facebook Lives promoting the Fayetteville Motor Speedway. Let's go ahead and introduce him. Track promoter checking in tonight from Burgaw, North Carolina. It is David Mitchell. Dave, hey, man, I know today I doubt you because you're always running around doing something on time, but hopefully you caught up with a little bit of rest, man, because you had a pretty big weekend Wednesday through yesterday.
Yeah, it's been a long week, Kip. 6-7 days of being at the track straight in a row. Finally get to come home for a day and see the house. So got caught up pretty good today.
Well, I know for the 2023 season to kick off the way it did, I would have to say, I don't walk in your shoes, but I'd have to say, for the most part, the 2023 version of the North Carolina Speed Weeks was a success up until the time the rain got you over the weekend.
Well, you know that anytime you're going to do a 4-day event, 5-day event, one of those days is going to be rain. It's going to happen. It's going to be cold one day and it's going to rain one day, especially when you try to trick Mother Nature and do one in February. So it hated it was on a Saturday. I wish it would have been on a Wednesday, but the weather got us on Saturday instead of Wednesday. But still, we had 3 beautiful days. You couldn't ask for no better. We all walked around in shorts. 10, 11 o'clock at night, we was all out barbecuing and eating, hanging out a good time, and it was 75 degrees at night. So it was a good time.
Well, this year, just like year 1 and year 2 for the North Carolina Speed Weeks, brought another phenomenal crowd into Fayetteville, North Carolina. And on behalf of the racetrack, for those of you who were here that may be joining us tonight, we want to publicly thank you for coming and being a part of 2023 Speed Week. It was a great success. I mean, a good crowd on Wednesday night. The crowd grew a little bit bigger on Thursday night. And then Friday night, I was unable to be there due to a prior engagement with my job. I was at the Greensboro Coliseum in a boat show with Chat Lee, and I really hate I missed it because I know the place was absolutely packed. So what we're going to do tonight, we're going to do kind of like a racing recap of the 2023 North Carolina Speed Weeks inside the Carolina Bull Ring. And night number 1, I mean, right from the start, once we got into feature racing, the 602 late models with the Mid-East Series, those guys came out, Dave, and when they hit the racetrack, the stage was set for a great week of racing inside the Carolina Bull Ring. It was great to see a guy that I've had in Victory Lane before, but man, it's been quite a long time, but out of Fair Bluff, North Carolina, driving the Jerry Dove number 14 Longhorn. I tell you, he did a phenomenal job. Dean Bowen. Now, Dean Bowen comes out, hasn't sat in a race car in some time. He doesn't race on a regular schedule like he used to. Dean Bowen hops into the Jerry Dove Racing number 14, sets fast time in qualifying. His heat race, he leads every lap. Well, when the main event comes, feature time, here we see Dean Bowen, Cody Overton. You see drivers like Dalton Jacobs. You see the young gun. You see Chase Blackwell. You know, all of these guys are right there bottlenecked for a really, really long period of the race. Out of Evans, Georgia, Cody Overton, Dave, he really gave the 602 class a very exciting race to watch because it was all he gave Dean Bowen every single thing he can handle. And as the race went on, the more interesting it got. But I can tell you, buddy, if there'd have been 2 or 3 more laps, it might only took just 1 more lap for it to get very, very interesting because the number 97 of Cody Overton was all up under the fuel cell at that 14, man, when they went across the line. Dean Bowen captured the first win, and, man, that was a great race.
After seeing that racetrack, I knew we was going to have a great rest of the week. I mean, that racetrack woke up that first night a little wet, and those guys were able to move around. at the end of the night, we could see the groove from the top to the bottom. I mean, they were moving. I mean, you could see them 3 and 4 wide right from the beginning. So Dean definitely had to use the whole racetrack to keep Cody off of him.
Well, it was a great show, and congratulations goes out to Dean Bowen, not only capturing his first win of the 2023 season. He was our first winner visiting Racing for Heroes Victory Lane inside the Fayetteville Motor Speedway. Next up, it was the INEX Legends, and man, you just cannot talk about Daniel Adam enough. Has not been in a legend car in some time. He comes out right out of the gate, another driver, sets fast time overall, goes in his heat race. He wins it by a long shot. Did a phenomenal job. He and Drake Troutman put on one heck of a show for 20 laps.
They did. That was a great.
Yeah, 20 laps of that race. And on a restart, it is what it is. Daniel Adam had a little bobble coming off of 2, and Troutman, who is a very experienced driver, if you can pass on the high side, Dave, in a legend car, you're pretty daggone good. And Drake Troutman out of Highland, Pennsylvania, 316 Motorsports, no stranger to Victory Lane inside the Fayetteville Motor Speedway. He's been to Fayetteville for the first 2 prior North Carolina Speed Weeks, and he did another great job, and he visited Victory Lane again this year in 2023. So a great job there. Now, we only ran 3 features on the first night, and we wrapped up night number 1. It was Wednesday of North Carolina Speed Week, and the 602 Sport Mods. These guys did a phenomenal job as well. That winner was the number 23, Buck Stevens. You take a driver who used to drive a race car full time, hasn't been in a car in some time, and Austin Self approached him and wanted him to drive the other number 23 car, and he did a phenomenal job and captured his first win of the 2023 season, and that wrapped up night number 1 in North Carolina Speed Weeks. Now, Dave, when you talk
was that again? Was that Buck's first time to the racetrack?
Yes, first time to Fayetteville Motor Speedway.
First time he ever visited the racetrack. First time he ever seen it. Yep. Very good.
So that's quite an accomplishment to come to a racetrack that you've never been to before and drive, like he did, and capture the win in a car that he's really not familiar with, hadn't been in a car in some time, and he got the job done. Now, when you say earlier, hey, when we saw the racetrack that night, we knew that it was going to hook up and get a little bit better. Now, when we roll over into night number 2, man, it really did get good, because on night number 1, our first feature of the night was the 602 late models. Well, on Thursday night, it was a little bit different because we rolled out the 604 late models first. And I remember, Dave, I walked down to turn right there to the edge of turn 1, and you were standing there. And once those cars got by the first couple of laps, you looked over at me, and I could see just the glare in your eye. And your comment to me was, when you see a track like this, it doesn't get much better than this. And those guys, you, Wayne, and Freddie, did a phenomenal job. And I was like, man, these boys have still got it figured out. It looks like another deal of the Carolina Clash race from 2022. It looked like a replica of the Cash Money 100. And it was just a very, very racy racetrack.
Yeah, it looked really, really wide. And Hudspeth really put on a good show there. I mean, Justin was on a rail.
Yeah, Justin did a phenomenal job there. And, whenever you look at him, I'm drawing a blank for some reason right now, the guy who drives the number 6 car out of Cherokee.
Dylan Brown.
Yeah, Dylan Brown.
I
was trying to think of Tyler. Dylan Brown out of Cherokee. Man, this guy's won a lot of races all over everywhere. And this guy, Justin Hudspeth did. They got caught up in lap traffic, and he did one heck of a job, just an awesome move, shot down to the bottom of the racetrack, lap car in the middle of the racetrack. Brown goes up to the top. Hudspeth put it down on the bottom and was able to capture the win. And had he not been in the right place at the right time, and the track being to where you had 3 different cars spread all the way across the racetrack, you had 2 leaders and a lap car, race leaders on the outside, the guy running second shoots down to the bottom to catch the win. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that, day.
No, and you had I don't know if Jacob his brother, because Jacob Brown was right there with him too. You got Dylan Brown, Jacob Brown.
Yeah, but Dylan Brown in the 6 car, he runs up at Cherokee Speedway a lot and has a lot of wins under his belt, and he did a phenomenal job. But Hudspeth, was right place at the right time and put that number 27 out of Ronda, North Carolina, making another visit to Fayetteville Motor Speedway, capturing the first win of night number 2. So we roll over into
another one that showed off that night that got second. Dalton Jacobs wound up getting second. He wound up getting around Dylan Brown.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he did.
Yeah. Dalton Jacobs wound up got second, and then you got Jacob. I think it's his brother. Jacob Brown got second, or Jacob got fourth, and Dylan got third. But Dalton snuck up there and got second. So I mean, those guys were moving around in positions. It wasn't like they just wasn't passing. So it was got to give a good shout out to Dalton too.
Yeah. Oh, Dalton Jacobs, Baby D, who has he drives a 602. Baby D drives a 602 late model, a 604 late model, and really exciting. In year number one of North Carolina Speed Weeks, he did capture a win, and we hope to see Dalton Jacobs get back into victory lane sometime in 2023. As the night rolls on, we go into the 602 late models. The driver number 215. Icon, Barry Wright chassis, Jamison Madison picks up that win. And that was another great race, too. A lot of great drivers. There again, Dalton Jacobs was, right around there in that 3rd or 4th position for a while. Chase Blackwell was knocking on the door, riding in there for a little while, and ended up at the end of the night.
Overton got second.
Yeah, Cody Overton
got second.
Well, see, Cody Overton.
Dustin Mitchell.
Yeah, well, Cody Overton finished second both nights, the first night and the second night. But that was another great car. And, looking at as we start Thursday night, I mean, we had over 30 604 late models. Then you go back to the 602s. There's 30 plus there, too. And, man, there's just a great group of cars. There's a great group of talent, drivers. I mean, it was an awesome show.
There's really 2 things that stood out besides Jamison winning that race that night, is you had 2 people that come from the back to the front. It wasn't like it was just a normal, hey, the train race. You had the biggest one I seen was Morgan Johnson. I mean, you had Morgan Johnson and Jordan Kohler. Jordan Kohler moved up 12 spots, and Morgan moved up 17 spots.
Yeah, she started 24th after having a hellacious night on Wednesday night. She comes back Thursday night, starts 24th, and comes all the way up to 7th. So somebody who is in a late
spot.
Yeah, well, she's been in a late model last year, part of this year, starting off the 2023 season. She's used to winning in a mod light on the regular, and this is a total different deal for her. So shout out to Morgan Johnson Racing, her dad, and her whole entire crew over there that helps her out. She's gonna get that thing down. And another thing I saw as I was looking, another young driver, Chasen Beasley, who was there, who did not have a good night at all on Wednesday, got a little bit better on Thursday, and had a really good qualifying night on Friday.
Yeah, he moved up 9 spots. I mean, yeah. I mean, I know it's not a top 10 or nothing like that, but still, to move up 9 spots, talking about a 602 late model, moving up 10 spots, 9 spots, that's a feat in all of itself because of the lower power and the go-kart type racing that they do. You just don't go out there and just rip past people when everybody's running on equal equipment. And those guys moved up 17 spots. I mean, so the track was good.
Yeah, well, as we move away from the 602 late model, then we go back into the next feature of the night. The third feature saw the INEX Legends back inside the Fayetteville Motor Speedway, and one of our local hometown boys who is definitely not a stranger to victory lane, driver the number 15 out of Fayetteville, North Carolina, Ryan Shabron. Oh, man, phenomenal job. He and Daniel Adam were battling out. Daniel was in the battle again on Thursday night. Drake Troutman was up there for a little while until he had trouble. And it was just a really, really good race there. And as always, really good to see a local hometown favorite, because Ryan Shabron, he's a great guy, good driver, and want to congratulate him on his first win of the 2023 season, and also being able to capture a win with so many people from all over the country. I mean, you and I were talking earlier today, these guys in the Legend deal, I mean, there's guys here from Iowa, there's people from, all over the country that came to Fayetteville this week, Dave.
So let's talk about that for 1 second. The top 10, 5 of those top 10, listen to some of these places they were from: Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Wisconsin, Iowa, Wisconsin. So I mean, you're talking about some guys that travel some major miles to come race with us, and to be able to beat those local guys. Chris Trenzo, he's been with us a few times. He worked up 6 spots and got up to second. And then in Wade, North Carolina, you had Daniel Adams, who moved up 12 spots. I mean, so those guys were shaking and moving all night long too in that class. But to have a 50-50 split in the top 10 from local guys and guys that are, I mean, 20 some hours away from Wisconsin. So it's a big deal.
Well, I knew that there were cars from all over the country. It was a great night number 2. And we ended up night number 2 with the 602 Sport Modifieds with the Mid-East Series. Driver the number 14 out of Greenwood, South Carolina, the Buffalo Bar and Grill 602 Sport Modi was Jeff Robinson. And, man, Jeff Robinson did a phenomenal job in capturing that win. I think he got his win right there pretty close to the last lap, made a lead change, and took home the win to capture his first win inside North Carolina Speed Weeks and for 2020.
Him and Drake Troutman put on a really good show.
Yeah, they really did put on a really good show. And really that Jeff Robinson, I mean, Troutman had that race won, Dave. He had that race won. And on a restart, you know, you just got him on the high side. He had the momentum coming on the outside. And a lot of people don't understand sometimes, you know, how does a guy on the outside beat somebody who is lower on the racetrack on a restart? Well, the guy on the outside, he is going to be straight sooner than the guy is on the bottom. And timing was just right for Jeff Robinson to capture that win. I mean, I can assure you, Drake Troutman was riding around cruising. Then they had that caution. He thought he had the race. And Jeff Robinson did a great job to round out night number 2. So what we're going to do now, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back and talk about night number 3, and we're also going to talk about things that are coming up for the remaining part of the season, our next race inside the Fayetteville Motor Speedway, and we're going to hear from our sponsor real quick, Barrier Fence and Supply, proud sponsor of the Voice of Victory Lane podcast. We'll be right back.
Barrier Fencing Supply is a fencing wholesaler and distributor based out of Supply, North Carolina. Whether you need fencing, fencing products, fencing accessories, or various other construction materials related to your fencing needs, we have the products you are looking for at today's most competitive prices around. Ask us today about bulk pricing packages. Call 910-269-8661. Contact us by email at sales@barrierfencingproducts.com. Barrier Fencing Supply, proud supporter of the Voice of Victory Lane podcast.
Okay, race fans, welcome back to another inside edition of the Voice of Victory Lane podcast with Kip Thompson. This is part number 2 of tonight's show, and it is being sponsored by Raging Rooster Catering out of Fayetteville, North Carolina, Tony and Bobby Jackson. Big, huge supporters of our show. Those guys have a great catering business. They offer a really, really great mix. They'll come to your event with 30 people or more. And always, whenever you're inside the Fayetteville Motor Speedway, be sure to visit them on the main concourse area right beside our press box tower. Those guys are huge supporters of dirt track racing, and we're glad to have them part of the group inside the Fayetteville Motor Speedway, and thankful for their sponsorship of tonight's show. So we're here with Dave Mitchell tonight, who is a track promoter at Fayetteville Motor Speedway. Everyone knows this guy. Nobody works any harder when it comes to race promoting, putting together great shows, great events, huge schedules. And he and Wayne Gray Jr. and Freddie Maynard have got the Carolina Bull Ring figured out. So now what we're going to do, we're going to roll in right on into part 2 of tonight's show. Let's talk about night number 3, Dave. I hate that I wasn't there. I heard the crowd was absolutely phenomenal, man. I heard cars were parked from the gate all the way out to the dirt road out at 95. And, man, that had to be super exciting. And night number 3 started out with legends, with the number 41 Parker Jones capturing the win. So we're going to talk about the INEX Legends first. Parker Jones captures the win there. And, you know, there again, here we are, night number 3, been there Tuesday night practicing, Wednesday and Thursday, and still a huge, 33, 34, 35 legends every night. And Parker Jones clips off the win on Thursday night.
We had 143 cars in the pit that night.
Now, is that a record at Fayetteville Motor Speedway or anywhere remotely close?
Yes. Yep.
So that's the record number of cars on a Friday.
I think 137 is the most we've ever had. So we're at 143 now. So yeah, and that's only with 5 classes. So that wasn't like we had 20 classes. We only had 5 classes and had 143 cars. So we'll take that as a big win.
Well, absolutely. And that just goes to show that Fayetteville Motor Speedway must be doing something right. A North Carolina Speed Week that was implemented, you know, um, 3 years ago, it grew from year one was great. Year number two was a little bit better. And year number three, as we had anticipated, it was a little bit better. 143 cars with, like you said, only 5 classes on the ground and, to run, and 143 cars. That is absolutely awesome. And, I just want to make a comment here, and I don't want to be negative because I'm not a negative guy, but I do want to speak the truth and clarify something. I don't know who it was, and I don't know what the name was, but I saw a guy make a comment on the Fayetteville Motor Speedway Facebook page. Somebody's talking about it being North Carolina Speed Weeks. Look at the flyer, look at the promo. It is North Carolina Speed Week. Somebody made a comment, well, you can't really call it Speed Weeks if it's only at one track. That's why the week was singular and not plural. It was our Speed Week inside the Fayetteville Motor Speedway. I mean, I don't know how simple that can be, or somebody could have the time to want to really, dissect and say a comment like that. It was North Carolina Speed Week at Fayetteville. So just want to clear the air on that. That kind of rubbed me when I saw that, Dave.
Well, I mean, you're going to get that. You're going to get the 1 out of the 100 for sure. But I mean, it is a speed week. It's as good as we can get in North Carolina at the time, and we do have plans to make it grow as other sanctioning bodies sees what we're doing and they want to come on board. We like it. We'd like to have a super race in our speed week. That's one of our ultimate goals is to get the supers in that week. They're really kind of off that week. The Woo and Lucas both are off. So next year the plan, maybe we could bring a super race in that, but it's still going to be the week. It's not going to be 2 weeks until we grow. We'll take baby steps. This year we brought the 604s in as a baby step, and it was phenomenal. Those guys had a full field every night, put on a great show for us. So as we grow next year, we'll see what we can either do about raising money or raising classes or changing classes. But it's always going to be in the goal to make it more and more and more.
Well, as we move through night number 3, we've already announced driver the number 41 legend car, Parker Jones, was our feature winner. And then we roll right back into the 602 Sport Mods with the
Hold on, let's back up on that. Let's back up on that. I know you don't want me to interrupt you too much, but the Parker Jones deal, that was pretty exciting. I know you missed that deal, but you had 2 guys that from the Legends Direct guys out of Wisconsin that drove from 19th to 1st that night. So Parker Jones started 19th in that feature and won it. Michael Weber, he started 14th and wound up getting 2nd that night. So some phenomenal action. You just can't just run by that right there. That's a pretty big feat right there, from 19th to 1st, 14th to 2nd. So outstanding job for those guys traveling in. And this is probably their 3rd time to the racetrack. They come with us with Fall Nationals, and they put on a phenomenal show and bring a real good group of guys down.
Yeah, that is a phenomenal deal. Starting 19th out of 33 or 34 or however many cars you started, even though if it's out of a 19 car field to come all the way to the front, that's still an awesome deal. So, and from Wisconsin, hey, we thank you guys for coming. That is awesome. We hope to see you guys again inside the Fayetteville Motor Speedway. So we're going to move on to the Sport Mod 602. We had our first driver of 2023 to double down, visit Pickering Lane twice inside North Carolina Speed Week, out of Greenwood, South Carolina. Again, driver the number 14, it was Jeff Robinson. And there again, I don't have any of the highlights in the back of my mind because I was not at the race. But you can believe on any given night, when Jeff Robinson shows up, he's going to be a contender. He's a heck of a wheel man. He had the race won, really, the other night on Thursday night, and kind of lost it there on the last lap there. But anyway, Jeff Robinson comes back in and does a phenomenal job, wins the race on Friday night, and captures his 2nd win of North Carolina Speed Weeks. Was there any other highlights on Friday night with the 602s, that anything special that stood out to you other than just another good field of cars?
No, I mean, you had Jeff that led flag to flag. I mean, he started first and finished first. Then you had a bunch of other guys that moved up through the field. But the racetrack that night was half a second faster for those guys than the night before. So it had really dried out quite a bit. There was actually we had a little delay. We had a lot of rain coming, and it was just misting all night long. So the second layer underneath the racetrack was drier than anticipated. The limiteds went out and qualified and ripped a big shelf off the racetrack. So we spent about 45 minutes to an hour fixing the racetrack. And then when those boys went back out there and hit it again, they were half a second faster all week long. So every day the racetrack got faster.
Oh yeah,
So,
well,
so we had we had 604s that were so fast they were in the top 5 of the limit qualifying.
wow. Well, you could see from the too much water on the racetrack Tuesday night for practice, but you guys worked that deal, and Wednesday the weather was good for you. I mean, it was really good Wednesday night, but Thursday night she got even a little bit better. And obviously, it sounds like if guys picking up half a second, I mean, it had to be getting better on Friday night, and it was very racy all week. And man, it would if we would have Mother Nature would not have won. That would probably be one heck of a limited show for sure.
Yep, guarantee it.
Yeah. So as we roll on through night number 3, back to the 602 late models with the mini series, one of our local guys who really struggled Wednesday night, got a little better, had not where he definitely wanted to be, but clips off his first win of the 2023 season and his 1st win of the driver, the number 10, the Ice Cream Man out of Fayetteville, North Carolina, 2022 602 late model champion, Daniel Parker. Talk about that race, Dave. I mean, you saw the races. I wasn't there on Friday night. Congratulations.
I mean, you just look at the top 5 guys we had there. We had Cody Overton at second again. Cody was all over Daniel the whole time. The restarts were awesome. He was able to hold him off. A couple times Cody got up on the outside of him, had cleared him, and then Daniel drove right back by him again. Then you had Chase Blackwell in third. What a phenomenal driver Chase is. I mean, he's coming. His day is coming. That young man's coming. Then you had Dustin Mitchell. I mean, Dustin Mitchell was in 4th. I mean, limited late model driver driving a 602 late model. He was putting on the show. And then you had Jameson McBride rolling in there again in the top 5. I mean, it was a phenomenal race with those guys.
Now, when you mention those drivers and you single them out, I will agree with you. I will fist bump you, slap high five with you. You hit it on the head. It's coming sooner than later. The driver, the number 6, Chase Blackwell, will visit Victory Lane. I'm gonna go ahead and call it sometime in 2023. And again, I think it'll be sooner than later. He has, he's consistent. He's getting better every race. If he can qualify, get that qualifying down to start, got to get out front to win. That, and qualifying is such a crucial part of that. But yeah, Chase Blackwell, I would say, had a very, very strong North Carolina Speedweek.
I mean, he does really, really good racing in traffic. He started 8th in that race and moved up to 3rd. So he just didn't sit there and ride. He didn't qualify 3rd. He come from 8th to 3rd. He earned his spots. And that young man's he's gonna be a good driver.
Oh yeah, he certainly is. And to round up night number 3 with a 604 late models driver, the number 22, Jeremy Steele captures that win for his first win of the 2023 season, and also wraps up Victory Lane visits for night number 3. And so anything stand out with you on the 604 late model? Because I got to kind of lean on you there a little bit, Dave, on this, because I wasn't there Friday night and I hate that I missed it.
Well, I mean, you had some good guys coming up through the field, but there again, Jeremy Steele was able to start on the pole and go ahead and hold the deal together and win the race. Then you had Dylan Brown. Dylan Brown come up through the field pretty good. He started out 5th and got to 2nd. So I mean, he had some pretty good moving around. They just couldn't. They had nothing for Jeremy. I mean, he controlled the race. It was a real good planned race for him. We didn't know if he was going to get the show in, so we started those guys off first. So as soon as we got done all of our qualifying and everything, those guys rolled out there, and Jeremy put on a real good show. Hudspeth, he got into 4th, and you had Dalton Jacobs again. You heard his name again. He jumped in the top 5 again. So we had some really good guys moving towards the front. And Dalton Jacobs wound up starting 13th and getting up to 5th. So, I mean, it wasn't like it was a choo-choo rain all night. I mean, the end of the 30 laps was just as good as the beginning of the 30 laps. So I'm really pleased with how the racetrack did. And talking about smooth, man, that thing turned out smooth as glass. And it was a good, phenomenal racetrack. I really hate we didn't get to finish off the speed weeks like we wanted, but the first 3 nights were a show.
Absolutely. Well, let's go back again. Want to congratulate all of our drivers who won on Wednesday night all of the drivers who won on Thursday night, and actually who rounded out North Carolina Speed Weeks due to rain. Friday night, that was it. Now, however, after the features and mixed in with the night's event on Friday night, you talk about how good the drivers were. Could you just imagine what I saw on my race pass when you start looking? Now, let's talk about how many drivers. I think 18 limiteds there, but it was 18 good ones. Okay, it was 18 good ones.
Yeah, it was.
Michael Roush, who's fast time. Christian Thomas, who makes a comeback. He's already he's qualifies second. Then you go down to Dustin Mitchell. You got Sean Harrell. You got Willie Milliken, and then you got Robbie Emery. I mean, listen at that starting five, starting six right there. I mean, could you imagine once you start doing heat races and these guys battle it out for their starting positions, what kind of race, man, that really would have ended up being on a surface like that day?
A 14.6 lap, 14.6. That's moving. I mean, those guys are flat moving, putting it down. We're used to 15-second laps. We're not used to in the 14s, especially the mid 14s. And I mean, you had the top 8 were in 14 seconds. So it wasn't like there was just 1 or 2 guys putting on a show. You had the top 8 guys out there that was in the 14s.
Yeah, well, I know from what I heard, and like you said, I'm trying to drive back, late at night from the Greensboro Coliseum, and I'm trying to keep my eyes on the road and trying to see what's going on my race pass. And I was like, man, good grief, these limiteds, man, this is going to be a heck of a show. But Mother Nature won. We ended up not doing their heat racing on Friday night. Plan was to bring it back on Saturday, and the weather just did not cooperate. So we were able to we had to cancel that for Saturday night and Sunday's show. But for everyone that was there, again, thank you so much for visiting the Fayetteville Motor Speedway and being a part of North Carolina Speed Week for 2023. But the final night of Speed Week has been rescheduled for Friday night, April the 28th. We're going to run that race in conjunction with the Mideast Triple Crown, which was originally scheduled for April the 29th. So we will go back on Friday night and we'll bring back, it will be 3 classes or 4 classes on that night.
We will have the limiteds, the 602 late models, 602 mods, and the legends. So you're going to have 4 for sure. And the limited show will be a 1-day show instead of a 2-day show. Okay,
so the limited show, will that be on Saturday?
Nope, the limited show will be Friday night also.
Okay, all right. So you'll have a 4 feature show that night, and it'll be a full deal. Everything starts from scratch, hot laps, qualifying heat races, whatever. So
it will be an I-95 points race. So we will go ahead and implement the points for that race. It'll be 5,000 to win, 500 to start. There's a $1,000 bonus to any of the drivers that were at Speed Weeks. So if any of the drivers that were at Speed Weeks, because there was a lot of confusion and a lot of issues we had with the limiteds, not getting to race them, not getting to heat race them, I'm going to add a $1,000 bonus to any of those 16 drivers that signed in. And they've already got their registration back, so they'll have to come back again. If they come back and visit Victory Lane out of those 16, one of them will get a $1,000 bonus.
Well, man, what other racetrack can say that their promoter, does something like that after you're heartbroken, they're heartbroken, nobody got to race, and and the cool thing, was nobody was really bashing, because that's a prime situation to bash the racetrack, to bash the promoter. You gave everybody their money back, so nobody had anything to fuss about. So, and we're going to reschedule it. And now not only are you rescheduling, if you happen to be there and you show back up again, if you win, you get a $1,000 bonus. I mean, awesome deal, right, Dave.
So the deal is I think most of the drivers that they don't beat me up too hard in the fans, because I think they've seen over the last 3 years the passion that I have for our sport. And when things don't go smooth, my heart is broken just as bad as theirs is. I want to race just as much as they do. We did do the right thing, we thought. We cleared the pits, brought people in, charged them for the wristbands. At the last minute, we made the decision we had to cancel. It just wasn't the right thing to do for series, me, weather. It was not the right thing to do. So we asked everybody to go get all the registration feedback, get all the wristbands back, and return the money to everybody, and let's start over and have a better race in April.
Well, I think that's really generous of the Fayetteville Motor Speedway to do that kind of stuff. And I had an opportunity last week, Dave. I don't know if you were able to catch it, but I was on the Fox Radio Network with Wesley Outland. Wesley called me really late on Monday night or Tuesday night, and it was actually Tuesday night because I was on his radio show promoting the North Carolina Speedweek on Wednesday. So I was actually on his show trying to hurry up and prepare so I could get down to the racetrack. And that is one of the things that he and I talked about, the things that you guys have done since Fayetteville Motor Speedway since you guys came and made the changes and come and started promoting the track and doing what you do. One of the things that I pointed out to Wesley is, he kept talking about, man, Dave Mitchell's done such a great job doing this and doing that. And I said, well, let me stop you. I said, the thing about it is, Dave as a race promoter. What you don't know about Dave, he's a racer too. So when it comes to having that passion of, man, he'd rather have somebody punch him in the eye as opposed to have a rain out. He'd rather, have the flu than have to cancel a race, or an event, because he's a racer. He drives race cars. He drives a street stock car now at other tracks. And so I just think that just goes to show that people need to take note of that not only are you the promoter, deep down, when it gets down at the end of the day, Dave Mitchell, you're a racer as well. And it shows by doing something like that to create a situation where guys get their money back. Hey, and if you come back, not only did I give you money back, I'm going to give you more money the next time if you show back up, if you win the race. So that's a great, great deal. So mark your calendars now. April the 28th and 29th inside the Fayetteville Motor Speedway. On that Friday night, it'll be a full show, separate show to round up North Carolina Speed Weeks and a makeup deal on April the 28th. And also Saturday night, it'll be another complete show, the Triple Crown weekend for the Mideast 602 late models and their modifieds. And it's going to be a great event. But next up.
And the 604s will be back in the house that night.
Okay, so
the 604s will be back.
604s, 602s, and the 602 modified, 602 late models. And the 6. It's going to be great. Legends will be there again.
And your legends. Legends will always be there. Yep.
So now we look forward to, hey, what's next? What's on the schedule? What's going on next for Fayetteville Motor Speedway? Mark your calendars right now. March the 24th and 25th, third annual. This is really cool that we go into year 3 and we're doing the same thing we started 3 years ago, and we can say another third annual event. It is the Nutter per Shut Up inside the Fayetteville Motor Speedway that'll bring the 602 late models. It'll have 602 sport mods. We're going to have street stocks on this particular weekend, and also our legends will be there, and the I-95 late model qualifying for Friday night, and their big event will be Saturday night. So, Dave, third annual Nutter per Shut Up. Everybody's already wanting to know, inquiring minds want to know, what are the trophies going to be like this year? Have you given thought to that? Because, the big nut, the little nut, whatever, those guys really, really love how you promote that little deal and make the trophies are so cool.
Well, it's going to be, they're going to be hanging around your neck again. So we're going back with the same thing we had last year. It was awesome. You can throw them over your shoulder and get up on the wheel and win you a race the opening season. It's kind of just the neat thing about it. Kind of get a little, talk about being a racer. I get goosebumps even talking about races like that. Getting ready. And next week, I'm going to the Toilet Bowl up in Clarksville, Tennessee, which has been a favorite race of mine for 20 years. And those guys give away a toilet and a plunger. So on Friday night, you win a plunger. On Saturday night, you win a toilet. It's not always about the money. It's about the prestige of who can win that race. Billy Moyer won the first Toilet Bowl 19 years ago for the Tuscany Toilet Bowl. And I always wanted to win one of those toilet bowls after watching Billy Moyer won it. And me and Trent Young has won 2 of them so far. And now I'm kind of got this thing going with the Nut Up or Shut Up. How many times you get to wear a pair of nuts around your neck and tell everybody that you threw your nuts up on your shoulders and you went out there and won the race and you didn't talk shit about it no more. You start the season out and that's only one trophy you get a year, and it's something that everybody's going to want to try to get. So I'm excited about it. I like it.
Well, it's definitely be another cool event inside the Fayetteville Motor Speedway. And when you talk about receiving the trophy during Nut Up or Shut Up, that is a really, really cool thing. But another thing, that we started last year, we're going to make an announcement here. Last year, for those who were not with us this week, we were with BP Racing Fuel, and this year for 2023, Sunoco Racing Fuel has come on board and helped out tremendously inside the Fayetteville Motor Speedway. And so last year, when you won a race in Victory Lane, you got a flag, a VP flag, and it was dated, it was signed, you were a feature winner. And so we rolled right back into 2023 with Sunoco. They've got the flags. And, Dave, it's amazing to see these guys who don't race with us on a weekly basis. And when they take their picture, the first thing they do before they hop back in the car, they're pointing the flag back to me. No,
trying to hand you the flag back.
Hey, that's your flag. And they're like, man, are you kidding? They think, man, those flags, that was a great idea that you came up with. And just something different, than the printed off the little cardboard checks. Everybody likes to have those too, but man, to have that flag from Racing for Heroes Victory Lane, it's cool and it's special to those drivers, and they really, really like it.
And Sunoco coming on board this year is a wonderful thing for us. They're also helping the racers out by providing a lower price fuel. I've kind of made a deal with them to pass some of that savings along to our drivers. I think a lot of guys took advantage of that in Speedweek. They bought a lot of drums of fuel because of the savings those guys passed along, and they're stepping up to help us with our big races. So all these big races we get to have this year, a portion of these races is sponsored by Sunoco, and to have a sponsor like that, we all need to step behind them and support them and to keep racing going. We can't make it without those type of sponsors.
Well, that is a real neat deal. And again, handing out those flags inside Racing for Heroes Victory Lane has been a lot of fun for me, because you have a guy who comes up and he may have never won a race there at Fayetteville Motor Speedway, may have never been to Fayetteville Motor Speedway before. It's just something different that Fayetteville Motor Speedway does that, maybe another racetrack doesn't do. And it's actually really cool, because the look on their face when they hop back in the car, want to hand it back to me. And I'm like, no, buddy, it's yours. And they really, really get a big smile on their face and something extra, to take home with them to always remember running inside the Fayetteville Motor Speedway. So we're going to come back action.
One of the things I always hear, and I heard it so much, was chasing checkers. I'm chasing checkers. And that was just my way. Well, here's your checker flag. Everybody's chasing them. There you go. And now I get guys that come up to me all the time and says, man, one of these days, I'm going to get me a flag. So
that's right.
They're chasing that flag.
Yeah, well, it's a real cool deal. And like I say, it's something that they can always take home, because checks, we used to date them and everything, but when we write on there, feature winner, FMS, February 24th, 2023, it's just, it's dated for them. It was all about them, and they got it done. And they do. It's very, very special for them, and just another cool thing that we do inside the Carolina Bull Ring. We're looking forward to getting back to racing action. I know people really, really hate the weather got us like it did this weekend. But again, go ahead and mark your calendars now for the third annual Nut Up or Shut Up inside the Fayetteville Motor Speedway, March 24th and 25th. That'll be a Friday, Saturday inside the Carolina Bull Ring. Go ahead right now and invite a friend. If you've never been to Fayetteville Motor Speedway, I promise you, you're missing out. And if you come one time, I promise you, you'll probably come back. Hey, tonight's show has been brought to you by Barrier Fence Supply on the first segment of the show. Tonight's second part of the show has been sponsored by Raging Rooster Catering out of Fayetteville, North Carolina. Tony and Bobby Jackson do a phenomenal job with their catering business. They'll come to your event with 30 people or more. They got a great menu. And anytime you visit the Fayetteville Motor Speedway, be sure to go up to the main concourse area right beside the press box and be sure that you tell them the Voice of Victory Lane sent you their way, and they'll take good care of you, and you can enjoy some fine food inside the greatest place to watch the race. As I like to say, there's no place better than the Fayetteville Motor Speedway. Dave Mitchell, track promoter, Fayetteville Motor Speedway, special guest tonight on the show, wrapping up 2023 Speed Weeks. Dave, thanks for taking time, man. I know you've had a crazy week all week last week. You've been building shocks all day, and maybe you could just relax and talk some racing with me. And glad to have you on the show. Thanks for all that you do, man, for the sport that we all love. We really, really appreciate everything you and Shay do, and all of your staff at Fayetteville Motor Speedway. You guys are awesome.
Thank you, Kip. We appreciate you.
All right, my man. We're going to go now, and we're going to lead tonight's show, and stay with us. We'll be with you sometime again next week. Maybe we'll do a show for Thursday. Got to get a hold of a show to do for you. I've got some things in the works, trying to get a couple of different people together, so we're going to try to line that deal up. And thank you again for watching tonight. For Dave Mitchell, I'm Kip Thompson, the Voice of Victory Lane podcast. always, as we close every show, be on the lookout. We could be coming to a racetrack near you, and you could be who we're talking about next, right here on the Voice of Victory Lane podcast. Thanks for watching. Good night. We'll see you guys soon.
Tonight's show is being brought to you in part by Raging Rooster Catering out of Fayetteville, North Carolina. We cater any event, big or small, groups of 30 people or more, weddings, holiday events, or festivals. Call us today, 910-237-4565. Contact us by email at jackson.bobby@yahoo.com. Follow us on Facebook at Raging Rooster Catering. We invite you to come get you some. Raging Rooster Catering, proud supporter of the Voice of Victory Lane podcast.